Welcome back to Photoshop CC 2021 Classroom in a Book, chapter number 2 about basic photo corrections. This is part 2. So when we left off, we had just barely finished fixing the big crease in the middle, and now we need to do something to get rid of this extra person because we decided we don't want him in there. So let's go ahead and go to our Tools panel, and we're going to go ahead and grab the Patch tool, which may or may not be under your, depending on where it is, under your spot healing. So it's the Patch tool. With the patch tool, let's go make sure it's content aware up here at the top. We want structure to be 4. And then we're going to go ahead and drag a patch around the boy and his shadow. So we want this to go away. So let's go ahead and drag around. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can always go back and fix more later. Okay, so now I'm going to get my dancing ants. So now we're going to take our pointer into where we just did and we're going to drag it to the left. So let's go ahead and drag it left. And see how he automatically is becoming part of the wall. So if I make it up here, it's going to wherever I push. So we want to pretty much just go straight sideways. Just outside. But make sure we're making it so the wall still lines up pretty well. And when you're done, go ahead and let go. Then let's go ahead and do a Control D to turn off those ants. So really automagically, we have created a situation where he's gone. Although we do have a little bit of weird going on here, we are going to go ahead and fix parts of that. Like here looks a little bit funky. So let's go ahead and use our clone stamp tool. So let's go to our clone stamp, go to our patches. It's not there. Let's go here to our stamp, clone stamp. So right now it's way too big. I want about a brush that's about 60. So I've got it at 400 right now. And let's go ahead, a hardness of about 30. Now I want to take, and we have to tell it where we want to copy from. So we're going to Alt click or Option click to sample part of the image as a source point. What do we want to copy? So maybe we want to make sure that we copy, these windows down here onto this building. Because you can tell it does a little weird funky thing right in here. So let's go ahead and source copy. Now let's do it right down here. Okay, let's do it down here. So I'm going to do Alt click. That's going to be my source. And now I'm going to go ahead and drag it across. And see how it's changing just slightly what we have there. So let's try that one more time. So each time we click the code stamp, it begins a new source point. So see right here, if I put that here, it's going to make a big dark line, which I don't want. So undo. So let's go here, Alt, and make a new source point right here and drag straight across. And see, we've got a few different weird things going on. Let's do Alt right here. All right, until we are happy with it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Control plus. I'm going to use my space bar in my hand. So I'm not totally happy with it yet. Let's do a Alt and click one more time. And let's click it right in there. So depending on size of your thing, depends on how well it's going to work. So we're going to go ahead and click Aligned. And with a smaller brush, we're going to go ahead and fix these part of the windows. So let's go to a smaller brush so I can go mine it. I can do my square pegs right here. Use this as the source. So let's go ahead and click. And see, because I didn't do Alt, it didn't pick it up. So let's do Alt, click, and bring that right over here. Make those windows look a little bit better. Let's do Alt, click. Kind of makes a copy. So you can kind of see how you can basically fix a lot of these small things. So it's so small that you're really not going to notice a whole lot there. We've got a little bit of a weird thing going on down here. So let's see if we can fix that. Let's click here, Alt click here. I'm not loving that. So let's go ahead and Alt click again. Click. All right. Let's do some Control minus. So you could go through and clone part of, the walls. You can make other parts. Maybe you don't like how the bottom is down here. Let's scroll in, scroll up, grab that clone stamp. Make sure we're still on our clone stamp. And when in doubt, you can always, there's little pop-ups that will help you decide what you're doing. So I do Control minus. Maybe I want to get rid of this dark spot here. So let's go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. Get rid of that dark spot. So I'm going to go ahead and click. And then I'm going to clone stamp right in here. Alt click. For some reason it's not doing what I want it to do. Okay. There we go. Let's do undo. Start it back here. Alt click. There we go. That's much better. All right, so maybe it's because it was locked. So I still have this area up here, which I'm not happy with. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Alt click. And we want to drag this section over. And I made it worse, which is not part of the plan. So I'm going to undo. And what can I do here? Let's make it bigger. Let's try that instead. Okay, Alt click. I'm not loving what I'm getting there. Let's turn aligned off. All right, so let's do Alt click. Aha. And all I'm doing is clicking as I go. Not beautiful, but for these purposes of learning how to do it, it's not terrible. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and sharpen the image. So if we zoom in a whole bunch, you're going to see that we have a whole bunch of these little funky, move tool, little dots. That usually comes from scanning. So let's zoom in, and so you can see it a whole bunch. And let's go to filter. Let's come down here to noise, and we want dust and scratches, and we want to get rid of the dust and scratches. So let's go ahead and tell it a radius of 1 pixel, a threshold of 0, and see how it made a lot of those little dots go away. And let's say OK. And the last thing we want to do, let's do a zoom out, Control minus, is to make sure that we do our sharpen it, make it a little bit better. Let's go filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. And we can move this out of the way if we want. So we want to make sure that we're removing a lens blur right here. We want our amount to be about 60. We want our radius to be 1.5. And we're going to say OK. All right, so now it's a little bit clearer. I'm still not super happy with this section right here. I might actually go back and start over if I had my way. I might go back and take this section and start it if this is something I was doing for a real project. But since it's for a classroom book, I'm not too worried. So that's basically how you do a couple of really simple photo corrections for a Photoshop document. Let's do a Control S and save. Make sure you're turning in this first initial last name, chapter in a book number 2 as a PSD, and you're good to go.